Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here, welcome back to Talk the Wall. This is the 42nd instalment, and before we get right into any of your responses or questions you may have had, if you haven't seen any of the other 41 instalments, then why not go check them out. There's going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Wall, or alternatively, if you have missed an episode, then click the I button and catch up with what you've missed. There'll be a link with the playlist on that one. Now, do feel free to add your opinions and questions you may have had, even if you're not a Millwall fan, as it just adds something different to the podcast. And while you're down in the comments section, why don't you let me know your predictions for Millwall's match, which is up and coming against Oxford United, and what I'll do is I'll cover that next week. Now with this podcast, do bear in mind I recorded it on a Sunday, so if any news becomes outdated or if any new news stories appear, then I'll cover them next week. Moving into your predictions for this week, and Millwall played two over the past week. The first being on Friday against Northampton Town, while on Monday we played Fleetwood Town. Now, due to the timing of this match and when I record this podcast, we're only going to be looking at the predictions for the Northampton game, and I'll check the Fleetwood ones next week. So on to the predictions against Northampton Town, and how did you do? Well, 8 of you predicted the result for the full time, with 2 of you actually being right. So congratulations to Adams and Joe Holloway, who expected the Lions to win 3-0. 3 of you were very close though, with RF Games, Dylan Gaming and Riley Solo all being 1 goal off the right scoreline, saying it would end 2-0. The Veggie Tube was also 1 goal off, but he predicted Northampton to score, so obviously that one wasn't as close as Millwall winning, keeping a clean sheet. The final 2 predictors were Joe Conway and Liam Gaming 2, who said that the game would end 2-1. Liam added Aidan O'Brien would score, which obviously he did, and Steve Morrison and Alex Ravel would be scoring for them. And he ended with, "Come on you Lions, meh." Last week Dylan Gaming left us a question, and that was, will we make the playoffs? And one of you responded, that person being Liam Gaming 2, and as he said, I reckon that we'll be making the playoffs. And well, from my point of view, I also got to say it's in our hands now, so if we don't get in it, it's in ourselves we've got to blame ourselves for not getting there. But I reckon it's going to be very hard for Millwall to mess up, and I do think we will finish in the playoffs in the end. So my question for this week come from Liam Gaming 2, who said, who do you think will be our top goal scorer at the end of the season? So let me know, and Liam also know who you expect it's going to be in the comments section down below. I'm actually going to go with Aidan O'Brien. Moving into your comments, and we will start with the Veggie Tube, who said, meh. And do you like the 4-4-2 formation that we play? I don't. It's not the 50s. Harris needs to make a change. Now, with this, the 4-4-2 system that we play, I think that Millwall play this a lot, and it's the Millwall way to go about it. And it's probably due to the fact I haven't seen Millwall play any other way, to be honest. It seems a very Millwall thing to do, and while England use it at times, they are starting to move away from it as times have changed, and Leicester used it to win the league, so it can't be that bad of a formation. Plus, if we look at the team we've got, we don't have cams or CDMs and actual specialists in the positions. We just have players like Williams and Thompson that can do both the jobs, but generally don't attack or defend as a specific role. And as for wingers, I don't know whether we would use wingers or just have them going left and right midfielder, but it don't matter too much. I think the formation doesn't always matter as much, and 4-4-2 isn't bad. We're not doing too bad when we've got that formation. Dylan Gaming 2 was the next person to comment, and he said, if we win Friday and Southend lose, we will have a big gap of 4 points. So come on you Lions. Which is great news if I'm gonna be honest, because we need as many points and a great gap between us and Southend so we can confirm these playoff spaces. Riley Solo then said Harry Smith said that he hates Millwall when he was a kid, and I was fully aware of this, and it's not so bad to be honest. A lot of you might make a little bit more than it is. It doesn't matter, he was young. A lot of people do a lot of bad things when they were young, and I know I've said stupid things when I was younger, and well, the difference is he's Millwall now. He's part of our family, so we've got to forget what he said when he was younger. A lot of people do stupid things. A lot of people are older than Harry Smith and have said some stupid things, and at least he's proving that he wants to play for the club, because he does well when he performs and he really wants to give it a go. Also, Harry is young, he's learning, and he will be an asset to this football club. Riley's first question was, do you think that we will get bankrupt and go to the conference? And This is quite a long, far-fetched question, Riley. But what I'm going to say is I don't actually know. I really don't. I don't think that I could ever see that happening. But teams that go bankrupt don't see that happening. So it's a bit of a weird one, to be honest. Under Berylson, I doubt it. And if Harris is the manager, then I'll also be saying no. But bankruptcy can just happen. And, well, it isn't a nice thing. So I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And teams like Coventry that are struggling with money, I really do hope they pull through. It's not fair that they can't play their football, because what happens is when you get bankrupt, it starts to affect how you play your football, who you can get, and then it just goes down spiralling from there. His next comment was, Romeo was my man of the match on Saturday. He made the goal and was solid at the back. And can I just say one thing with this, as a personal thing? Marlon looks better now that he has to battle for his position in the team. That's just something I've noticed. Do you guys reckon that as well? Riley's final comment was, we need to bring back Danny Shitu. Before I say anything, Dylan Gaming said he's old, with Riley responding with, he's only 33. So, with this one, I would love Shitu back, but he just wants too much money, and the club would not be able to afford him. So maybe if we went up, that would be nice, but also, I just think he is too old now, and you kind of got your stats wrong there in terms of his age. He's not 33, he's 3 years older, he is 36. So it's not worthwhile having him back. As a coach maybe, but not as a player. That isn't exactly a great age to have. He's a great role model, and it would be nice to see him at the Den at one point. Joe Holloway was the next person to say something, with him saying, I feel bad that I started all this hashtag singing with Prangell. And can I just say, Joe, it's not so bad. I'm used to it now, and well, it'll go for as long as it goes, maybe a couple more weeks. But also, can I just say something here? The podcast is only going to be running for a couple more weeks. Really, it's as far as the playoffs, and once that's finished, the podcast is going to be ending, as there's no real point going and continuing a podcast while nothing's happening. So yeah, it's very close to ending, and Liam Gaming and Riley Solo also added hashtag singing with Prangell. The next person to comment was Shadams, who had this to say about Hutch and Aiden. Hutchinson is amazing, better than Cooper. He scored 1 goal and got a penalty already against Scunthorpe, and he won every header. The reason O'Brien is getting abused is because at times he's lazy and points a lot. For example, working on his stamina, he needs to get better. However, I don't mind him, but I don't love him as he scores goals. Come on, you Lions. With this comment, I would actually like to add something, and that is, it's great to see Hutch back, because before he got injured, it seemed like he wasn't going to be able to get it going, and it's been a lot like that at a couple of his clubs. If he can stay fit, he looks like a fantastic player. He was even injured at Fulham, so I'm just hoping he will stay fit, and he's as important, if not more, as Cooper, because he's our player already. Liam Gaming 2 was the final person to comment, but before he commented anything, he said these chants. Oh, Stevie Morrison. Meh. His next chant was, no one likes us, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care, we are Millwall, Super Millwall, we are Millwall from the Den. Meh. This was followed by, he's one of our own, he's one of our own, Ben Thompson, he's one of our own. Meh. Lee Gregory, Lee Gregory, Lee Gregory, Lee Gregory. And then his final chant was, super, super nil, super, super nil, super, super nil, super nil, Harris. Meh. Moving into Liam's first comment, and he said, who do you think should be the penalty taker? And to be honest, I think this one should be Sean Williams. As, let me just talk about this a little bit, because midfielders don't always get a lot of goals. Well, unless you're Frank Lampard or Gerrard, you do score lots of goals there, but they're odd examples. Not many midfielders actually get a big amount of goals, and especially not for Millwall. And with Lee Gregory, he scored 15 goals this season, and with 8 of those coming from the spot. So over half of his goals have come from the penalty spot, and he's missed a couple as well. So it's just safe to say that I would prefer if strikers could score from open play, because it makes them better. And well, Millwall have converted 13 penalties this season, so it'd be nice to see if Williams was on them instead of Gregory or Morrison. I'd just prefer it. Do you think we're good enough to stay in the Championship, was Liam's next question. And to be honest, if Millwall got promoted, then I think we could build to be good enough to play in the Championship, even if we weren't. With Fred going, we might get about $1 million for him. And if we're lucky, I imagine we would have about 300k left over after the Jed Wallace transfer if all goes through. And so we could use that to get someone who could help us in the league, like an experienced striker maybe. Liam then followed that up with, do you think we need a new left back? And to this I say yes, but not for the reasons that you would expect, as Joe Martin and Tony Craig are fairly old. I'm just going to be honest with that one. And with Noah Cheeseman hopefully being able to get some more game time next season, I would like to see the older players sort of leave and someone that's around 25 years of age that can just be there in case Noah needs to be dropped, or if Noah's playing behind him just for experience levels. I don't want too many older left backs though. And well, I've got to be honest, as something to say, I am happy with the left backs we got, but I would like some younger options if I'm just going to be honest. His next question was, do you think we need a new chairman? And with this one, I say no. I'm actually really happy being a Millwall fan and having John Berylson being our chairman. Now the thing is, I think I'm quite accepting to the fact that we're a championship, maybe even a League One side, so I'm not bothered whether we'd ever get into the Premier League. Actually, I think that going into the Premier League would actually bankrupt the club, because if you look at it, the players will want more money and then they'll think that they're better than they are because they've spent a little bit of time in the Premier League. And also, another thing is, the amount of money that's floating around in the Premier League, if you go up and you don't stay up, there is going to be a lot of free falling happening. Because yes, you have 3 years of parachute payments, but once those finish, like a lot of the clubs that I'm about to mention, Wigan, Villa, Blackburn, Birmingham, all clubs that played in the Prem, even Wolves at a point, they've all taken a huge fall from grace. I mean, Millwall aren't a fantastic club as it is, but I just think it wouldn't be worthwhile. Do you think we'll finish higher than 6th? Was Liam's next question, and to put this quite simply, I reckon we'll finish either 6th or 5th this season. I have confidence that we can at least stay in the playoffs with our fate in our own hands. It just means we've got to keep winning games. Liam's final comment was, do you think we will go down if we stay in League One? And no, I'd have to say would be my answer, as I feel we have a good system working at the moment under Neil Harris, which brings through the youth players and means the academy is getting a lot of reputation for youngsters wanting to go there because they get the chance to play football, and that blend with experienced players already being in the team, that is something that you just want to have at every football club. And so this model is fantastic, and it probably means we're going to be as low as a League One side, if anything. And I think if we go up to the Championship, it might hurt this progression a little bit, and I would much prefer stay in the League One to build this model, and this Championship can then wait, and once we're ready, we all go up. But I think the youngsters are benefiting so much from us being in League One. My second question of last week was, who has been the players of the season and manager of the season? And 2 of you responded, with Liam going into saying his best player was Billy Sharp and his best manager was Chris Wilder, because he turned Sheffield United around after a bad start to the season and got them promoted. The other person to comment was Riley Solo, who said the best defender for Millwall has been Sean Cummins, the best midfielder has been Jed Wallace, and the best striker has been Steve Morrison. And so my second question for this week is a little bit of a far-fetched one, but simply put it, who is better, Bolton Wanderers or Scunthorpe United? They are both battling to get promotion. Moving into the loan watch, and we don't cover what happened with Greg Wild as he didn't feature against us because he simply couldn't, and so we're going to start with the players in League 2. And well, the first player is Sid Nelson, who's on loan to Newport County. Now, Sid didn't start, he didn't even feature on the bench either when his side beat Yeovil 1-0, which means they are one step closer to staying in the league, now needing 2 points out of 4 games. This could go right down to the wire, and I really do hope Newport keep it up and stay in the league, and I hope that Sid Nelson becomes one of their key players into making sure that happens. But at the moment, he might be injured or something. He's just not featuring unless he just isn't being used. David Ford featured for Portsmouth as his side took a valuable point against second place Plymouth Argyle, which means Portsmouth are getting closer and closer to returning to League One, and it could be the ready start they need to rebuild themselves up the footballing pyramid. Both Chris Twaddock and Kyron Farrell came on for Braintree Town as they took an incredibly important win, which means they could stay in their league as they are now currently 21st in the National League, which is the relegation zone in that league. However, they have some grace in the fact they're equal on points with Solihull Moors, Woking and York City, and with 22nd Torquay United being their next opponents, a win would mean they stand a huge chance of staying in the National League. Alfie Pavey's Dartford lost 2-0 away to Hungerford, with Alfie Pavey starting the match, though the striker was subbed off late as his side's playoff hopes were dented, though they do still remain fourth, still in the playoffs with 6 points ahead of falling out of that playoff zone, and a win would almost guarantee themselves a playoff space and a chance to get promoted to the National League. Before we move into the match that Millwall played against Northampton Town, can I just say that I will cover what happened against Fleetwood Town next week, as at the time of recording, which is Sunday, means that this game hasn't been played yet. So into the match, Millwall won 3-0 with a fantastic first half performance that saw us score 3 outstanding goals in my opinion, with Jed's first being a goal of the season contender. But as the game actually started, it could have very closely been a if but maybe match, as Millwall were having a couple of opportunities that just weren't going their way. For starters, Aidan O'Brien hit the post early on, with Morrison just missing out on getting to the ball. This was again then followed up with Morrison missing the ball after Jed Wallace crossed it into the area. All it would have needed was a touch. However, in the 27th minute, Aidan O'Brien changed Millwall's fortunes as he volleyed home following a very tidy knocked down header by Joe Martin, and well, obviously 1-0 was then the start of how a fantastic first half was go, as in the 38th minute Millwall then went and doubled their lead through probably one of my favourite goals I've seen this season, a long range screamer from Jed Wallace. If you haven't seen it, I've seen loads of them floating about on Twitter. He hit it from outside the box and it flew so far into that top corner that it was an outstanding goal. Millwall weren't done with just 2 though, and a third came in stoppage time of the first half as Aidan O'Brien picked out a running Jed Wallace who hit the ball first time and he went high and into the roof of the net. There could have been more goals though in this game, but Millwall missed a whole host of opportunities and a lot of chances in the second half. All they would have needed was a touch and they probably would have gone in like what was happening at the start of the first half, but let's not dwell on it and get into the player of the match. So Jed Wallace has to go down as the player of the match against Northampton Town because he scored 2 outstanding goals in my opinion, and he could have created so many more had players like Steve Morrison and Joe Martin actually put him away and got a touch onto it. Now that performance is probably the best performance I've seen Jed in a Millwall shirt so far, plus he scored more than he scored last season when he was on loan to us, as he's now got 3 with last time him only scoring 1. Into the ups and downs for this week, and we're going to be starting with the Championship, and there's huge news for 2 sides battling to stay in the league, as Wigan and Blackburn both got wins and have put themselves right back in with a chance of staying in the Championship. And so we'll start with already relegated Rotherham and see how they did. And they picked up their first point in over 10 matches after they drew 1-0 with Birmingham City after a late Danny Ward equaliser for Rotherham. Wigan Athletic are 23rd in the league, and after their huge 3-2 win over Barnsley, which saw the Latics come from 2-0 down to win the game 3-2, all after substitute Nick Powell scored a hat-trick. And now this is important news as it comes after beating Rotherham 3-2 last week, and well, for Wigan they now have 40 points, which means they do need 6 points to stay in the league, and with 4 games left it does mean their chances are heavily improved. However, with 3 of these sides out of the 4 that they have to play being in the top 6, it looks very hard for Wigan if they're going to be staying in the league. They are going to have to fight and give everything for the football club. 22nd are Blackburn Rovers after they beat fellow strugglers Nottingham Forest 1-0. Now the goal came from Tommy Hoban, one of the defenders, scoring the only goal of the game, meaning all they need is a win to bunny hop over Nottingham Forest and Burton Albion, as they currently have 43 points, and 3 of the 4 sides that they have to play up against next are in the bottom half of the table, so they have the best chance out of any side to stay in the league. And as I said, all they need is a win and they could still be playing Championship football next season. Moving down to League 2, and we're going to start with how the team at the top, Doncaster Rovers, did. And even though they were already promoted, they drew 1-0 with Colchester United after coming from behind as Matteo Baldry got the equaliser late in the first half stoppage time, and it looks likely that Rovers will be crowned champions as they now have 85 points, which is 6 above Plymouth. As for how 2nd and 3rd Plymouth, Argyle and Portsmouth did, Well, they played each other and drew 1-1. This point puts both sides in a great place and looking likely to finish in the top 3 and play their football in League 1 next year. Moving into the final section of the podcast, the Millwall news. And well, this week we don't have that much news to be saying, but there are 2 stories. The first being about contracts and the other being about Millwall winning the Family Club of the Year. So we're going to be starting with the news that Neil Harris has said that any news about contracts will come now at the end of the season, with Sean Williams, Sean Cummins, Joe Martin and also Fred Odinyema being yet to sign deals, and that's not even to mention that David Ford, who's out on loan at the moment, also has his contract expiring. That hasn't been talked about that much either. And as mentioned above, Millwall have won the Family Club of the Year thanks to all the great work we've done around the community, and this is a huge step in the right direction to changing people's views on Millwall Football Club. So that is all we got time for today. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section down below for the next Talk the Wall. However, before I go, don't forget to put your score predictions for the game against Oxford United in the comment section, as next week I'll be covering the game and highlighting the good and bad points. And also let me know your opinions of the match and Millwall as a whole. So like, comment, subscribe, and of course I will see you guys next week for the next Talk the Wall. But until then, goodbye.